You look now and you say, no, there's just peace. They get up and they don't feel anxious, and you just see some type of progress. This could be progress when it comes to the curriculum. It could be progress when it comes to attitudes. It could be having to do with discipleship and their character.
Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where you'll learn tips and strategies that will empower you to home educate your children. I'm Leigh Nguyen, a homeschool mom of over 12 years, which includes 2 graduates. When I started homeschooling, I was pretty much on my own and was desperate for encouragement and help. My mission is to be a source of encouragement and help to you. Whether you are just beginning your homeschool journey or you're deep into the homeschool lifestyle, Little by Little Homeschool wants to help you stay the course, because all the time you are investing into your children is completely worth it. If you're ready to take your homeschool to new levels, keep listening.
In a little over a month, we have the opportunity to meet up, you and I. If you'd like to join me, I'm going to be speaking at the Teach Them Diligently convention in Dayton, Ohio on March 20th through 22nd. I'll be doing a session during one of those times. I would love the opportunity to see you then. If you plan to be there, send me an email, let me know beforehand, or just come to my session and come up afterwards and talk to me. If you are interested in attending the Dayton, Ohio convention or one of the other 3 conventions, there's another one happening at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, as well as Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, as well as Branson, Missouri. You can go over to their website and get all the information. I would love if you would go to any of those. It's just such a really great time to go to a convention, even if it's just you that's able to go, or you're able to grab a couple of homeschool moms and do so. There is a link in the show notes. If you use that link to purchase a ticket, that would be really great, because guess what? That link specifically will tell Teach Them Diligently that I sent you over there, and that'll give me a little bit of a boost as well, and they'll know that I am helping them to promote the convention. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. There's possibly another one of their conventions that I'll be at, but at the time of this recording, that hasn't been put out there yet. So I will let you know, keep you posted. You can go onto those websites, onto their website, Teach Them Diligently, and see that as well. And my picture would pop up at one of the other ones. But I will definitely be in Dayton, March 20th through 22nd. So you can check out the link in the show notes, and hopefully we can meet up and see each other then. But today we're going to talk about 3 foolproof ideas to figure out if your homeschool is on the right track. For so many years of my homeschooling, when I had younger children specifically, there was many years and unfortunately many days wasted on the worry over my homeschooling. And am I doing enough? And too much time being anxious and concerned and asking questions and doubting myself, and staying too focused on that instead of focusing on just the day that I was in. Now, I don't mean that we should neglect tomorrow. Absolutely, we should not neglect tomorrow. We have scripture that tells us, we should consider the next day, and it is smart to consider the next day. If you don't consider the next day, you're probably not going to do things that are going to set yourself up to be able to thrive in the next day. So I don't mean that we need to neglect tomorrow, but a good day today ensures that we are on the right track with our homeschool for all of the future tomorrows that you're going to encounter and that you're definitely going to get to. These 3 ideas that I want you to consider are going to be phrased in questions. I feel like it's much more helpful for us to ask a question of ourselves than to have a statement. If we ask ourselves a question, we can then answer that question, as opposed to just making a statement. And so you ask yourself the question, and then you can answer that question in a yes or no, and then you can definitely expand upon that and add more to just a yes or a no. It's kind of like when you ask your kids, did you have a good day? And they're like, yes. That's not a question to ask them. Let's ask a question that's more in depth, that's going to get beyond just a simple yes or no. So the first question I want you to consider, write these couple of questions down, because whether you consider it right now, or maybe tomorrow you're having a rough day, or next week, or a couple months from now, and you're thinking to yourself, am I on the right track? Are we doing the right things? Ask yourself these questions, and you will know if you're on the right track. The first question is there an enjoyment of homeschool? Is there an enjoyment of our day? Do we enjoy what we are doing? As opposed to possibly kids asking to go to school because they're not enjoying their day. Now, let's balance this with the fact that sometimes there are hard things to do. So, to an extent, let's enjoy the day. Kids, especially in their youngness, in their immaturity, aren't going to see always the benefits of the hard things. And we know as adults, those hard things of actually finishing the math worksheet isn't going to kill them. They might think at the time that they are going to die. You might have kids that are dramatic. I remember having some that just would slowly melt out of the chair, fall down, and lay there as if they were unconscious. And I was like, math will not do that to you. I promise. I would just walk away and ignore it. And when they didn't get attention, then they're like, well, I guess I have to get this math worksheet done. And it wasn't anything above and beyond or anything crazy. I knew that they could actually do it. And knowing that hard things actually becomes easier. When those math problems become easier, they're not so hard, and then they can do harder things beyond that. So hard things build upon hard things. But just overall asking yourself, is there an enjoyment to what I'm doing? Again, not every moment is going to be joyful. And not every moment you're going to be loving it. We have kids sometimes that are sick and you're cleaning up the remnants of who knows what with their sickness, and you might not be enjoying it. But overall, you know that you enjoy your kids and you enjoy the fact that you're a mother. And you know that this is just a temporary time, a temporary, hopefully, season. Hopefully they're not sick for too long. But asking yourself, is there an enjoyment to what we are doing? Do we actually enjoy homeschooling? Do I actually enjoy having my kids home and around and being the one that is guiding their days and directing them and discipling them? Do we enjoy what we're doing? Now let's go to the opposite that I mentioned earlier. We're saying when kids are asking to go to school. Now, this might be because they really are not enjoying homeschool. They might have been in school, and so they kind of know what school is, or they might have their rose-colored glasses on when it comes to school. Or possibly they've never gone to school, but they've seen it in cartoons or movies, or they've heard things or in books, and their imagination makes them think that school is going to be a certain way and that it will be so much more enjoyable. Because oftentimes, in different types of media, they will focus on lunchtime and recess and fooling around during class, but not really the hard stuff. Not the fact that you come home and possibly have a couple hours worth of homework to do. Hours of homework to do every single weekend and tests to take and papers to write. Not that you might still give tests. You might still have papers to write with homeschool, but you get to do it without that pressure of outside from school and all the other things that go along with school. So if your kids are asking to go to school, ask yourself, why is that? Is it because they're looking for something specific? I did talk about this on Instagram and stories and was kind of communicating with some, and I did have one mom, and this was so cute. She said that she was homeschooled and she wanted to go to school so that she could eat lunch on a tray. And sometimes it's just those little things with kids that they're just like, I would like to do that. That sounds like fun. And so I replied back, I don't know if her mom did this, but if you were my child, I would have bought a tray and let you eat your lunch on a tray. I would have validated the fact that that actually is a desire that looks like something that would be fun. And it doesn't matter if they eat their lunch on a tray at home with your homeschool. But so there's little things that we can do that we can add enjoyment. But overall, are we enjoying? There are going to be seasons that are going to be hard and difficult. But is there an enjoyment? Do you have that joy in your heart that you're homeschooling? If you don't, it's time to sit down and figure out why is that and what needs to be changed and adjusted. So the second idea, the second question that I want you to ask yourself is, am I seeing progress? This progress could be with your homeschool as a whole. Maybe you're in your first couple of years of homeschooling and you stop and you look back at how far you have come, the progress that you have made. Maybe you've pulled kids from school and they were not happy about it and they were upset about it. Or maybe when you did pull them, they weren't unhappy or upset about it, that they were just stressed about what is this going to look like. And you look now and you say, no, there's just peace. They get up and they don't feel anxious and you just see some type of progress. This could be progress when it comes to the curriculum. It could be progress when it comes to attitudes. It could be having to do with discipleship and their character. Are you seeing some type of progress with the goals that you have set and the vision that you have for your family and for your homeschool? Just even a little bit, even if it's just at a very slow, I know I would say maybe snail, but I feel like a slug moves slower, right? Or maybe a sloth. So you can use any one of those examples, but just like a little bit of progress. With some kids, just a little bit is actually huge progress. And with some kids, you're going to see leaps and bounds, and they're going to just come alive. And you're going to see sometimes where you're not feeling like there is much progress. You're like, we've been working on this reading for a while, and it's just not quite clicking with them yet. Continue working on it, or maybe you need to pull back and just take a chill pill and relax about it. And then suddenly you're going to see things click. But are you starting to see progress? Are you seeing progress from the beginning of the year? Right now, we are about mid-February. And so think about the beginning of your homeschool year. Let's just even think back to September. Do you see some type of progress in your family and your homeschool as a whole? How about with each individual child? Are you seeing some type of progress? And maybe it's not in every single area, but it might just be one area. You're going to continue seeing progress. At least you should continue to see progress. And having goals and having ways of being able to sit down and actually measure that. Sometimes you can measure it really well and say, okay, look at how far we've gotten in this math book. And sometimes it's a little bit more abstract and you have to stop and you have to think and maybe talk to your husband. Like, are you seeing them maturing more? Are you seeing maybe there was some type of bad habits that you're trying to root out, or some type of sin that you're trying to expose? Maybe they have been inclined to lying a lot, or they have been teasing their siblings and you've been working that. And are you starting to see some progress? If you're struggling with those goals and having them set, that's exactly what we get to do together in your homeschool blueprint. So I suggest that you go over and check that out. If you're like, I don't know how to check to see if there's progress. There could be progress, but I have no idea what I am comparing it to. The link for that is in the show notes, as well as on my website at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/blueprint. The third question to ask yourself when you're wondering, am I making some progress? Are we on the right track here? Is, are you seeing the value in how you spend your time? Are you seeing that it is a good use of your time? Now, you're like, well, what are you talking about with your time? How we are spending our time? Well, again, what are your goals? What is your focus? What is your vision? Is what you are doing, is it a good use of your time? Think about your curriculum, the different curriculums that you are using, whether you use maybe one box curriculum or you use a lot, you're eclectic and you use a lot of different resources, or you use resources for some subjects and not other subjects. Are you seeing those things as being a positive in your family? Are you seeing it as a way of doing well by your children? Like, is it good curriculum? Is it God honoring? Is it helping them? And so starting to look and say, am I seeing any value in what we're doing? And I can almost guarantee you are. Because think of the opposite. If your kids aren't with you all the time and you aren't able to pour into them and you aren't able to notice things that need to be worked through, and they don't have you as that safety, they don't have that grounding I really think kids need when it comes to having their parents and having their parents a part of their life instead of being a part different, somewhere set apart from them for many hours in a day. So are you seeing some type of value in how you spend your time and the curriculum that you use? I hope that you are. If you are looking and you're saying, I don't really see the value in how we're spending our time, then that's not something to spend your time on. It's kind of like when you are thinking about, well, do I want my kids to watch this TV show, this cartoon, or do we want to watch this certain movie for family movie night? I was recently talking to my 17-year-old and we are going through an old book that, long story short, it has to do with the cartoons and the movies that came out when I was a child and just the undertones of those. And looking back now, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why my parents didn't let me watch this. Or that's why my mom was hesitant in letting me watch this. So he picked the book out from on my bookshelf, so we're kind of going through it. But as we're going through some of the movies, I was like, this movie that I'm specifically talking about with him, I was like, this came out when I was a child. And I remember watching it and then thinking when you guys were younger, oh, I watched this as a kid. I should let them watch it. And I decided I would preview it first to make sure. And I started watching it and I was like, oh, I absolutely have no interest in my children watching this. So this was back in the day when I found it at a garage sale, a VHS. Watched it and I was like, yeah, no. I don't really see the value in them watching this. It wasn't worth the time. I said I ended up taking that VHS and I threw it in the garbage because I didn't think anybody else should watch it either. But it's just saying to yourself, is this worth our time? Or is there something else we could be doing? Is what we're doing, is it pouring goodness into us? Is it adding life or is it taking life away? Sometimes, especially when it comes to media and shows and cartoons and movies and all of the things, I would notice that after they would watch certain things, that they would have a bad attitude. There would be a negativity, that there would be more friction in our relationship. And when I recognize, well, it's a certain particular show, or just the fact that they are watching anything right now, something in it is doing something to their mind. And I was like, well, then we are not going to watch TV we're just going to take a little bit of fast from it, or we're no longer watching the show or this movie because it is not adding to their life and adding to our relationship. It's taking from our life and relationship. So are you seeing the value? Are you seeing good fruit from how you're spending your time with your homeschool, whether that is with co-ops or that is online courses or different resources and your curriculum? Is it adding life to your family? If you answered yes to all three of these questions, then yay. Friend, you are on the right track with your homeschool, and I'm so excited for you. What a blessing to be able to say yes to all of those. Now, if you said no to any of those three questions, and I'll go over them real quick again. First question is there an enjoyment of our days and of our homeschool? Second question is, am I seeing progress? And the third question is, am I seeing the value in how we are spending our time and the resources that we are using? So if you said no to any of those, sit down and evaluate how to adjust. The goal is to be able to say yes to all three of those. And when you get to a point where you're saying no to one of those, like, okay, it's a mom problem. It's not necessarily a child problem. It is a mom's problem. It's your problem. I'm saying this in a very, trying to be nice here. It is your problem. You are the mature one. You are the adult in the situation. So you have to come up with what the solution is to that. Sometimes it's pulling back from something and saying, okay, I don't really know what the solution is here for this, so we are going to stop doing this certain curriculum. Or I'm feeling like this co-op is not adding life to us. Maybe it's just taking a couple weeks off and evaluating how do things look differently without going to the co-op. Is life a little bit more calm? Is it just not a good season for that? Maybe it's an online course that they are taking and it is a live teacher that's teaching and you're just a little bit skeptical of the teacher. And so you decide, maybe we're just going to skip class for 2 weeks and see how that looks. So those are just some ideas on how you can go ahead and adjust those things. I did mention earlier that if you need that foundation, your homeschool blueprint is going to be there for you. But if you're feeling beyond that, you have that foundation and you would like some one-on-one input, I would encourage you to go over and join the mentorship program. You can get information at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/mentorship, but that's where you and I get to privately sit down and talk about the heart of your homeschool. And we can talk about anything that has to do, and we're going to get to some ideas and some solutions and getting you to make those changes, because really the goal is for you to say yes to all three of these questions and get your homeschool on the right track. I'd love to see you over at the mentorship program. Again, it's littlebylittlehomeschool.com/mentorship. Thanks for stopping in for this episode.
Thank you for listening, friend. I'd love to connect with you more. You can find social media links in the show notes and share this episode with a friend who could use a boost to her homeschool. See you back here real soon.